اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن إذا شئت سهلا اللهم أمسينا على أبوابك واقفين ولرحمتك طالبين فلا تردنا خائبين ولا تخزنا اللهم في هذه الدنيا ولا يوم الدين. اللهم إنا نسألك مما عندك فأفض علينا من فضلك وانشر علينا من رحمتك وأفض علينا من بركاتك. اللهم إنا نبرأ إليك من حولنا وقوتنا ونلتجئ إلى حولك وقوتك وفضلك يا ذا القوة المتين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى وسلم. وبعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
So, last Friday was our first introductory lecture, and we agreed by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala we're going to discuss the topics of the Sunnah, Project Sunnah. And as an introductory session, we started talking about the concept of Sunnah. Our goal, inshallah, in this series of lectures to not understand the Sunnah only, but we really want to absorb the Sunnah. We want to be infiltrated with the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And we want to be infiltrated with the love of the Prophet ﷺ, which leads to the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not only understanding the Sunnah is important for us to follow the path of the Prophet ﷺ, but it really makes you live this life better. You enjoy this life. Today, inshallah, as you learn, we will learn a very subtle meaning of the Sunnah, actually, and how it fits your life. So, last time, again, we started with an introduction. We talked about the concept of Sunnah. And as we will get into this habit, inshallah, anytime we talk about the topic, we talk about its linguistic meaning and its technical meaning, and then the evidence about it from the Quran, from the Sunnah, from the statements of the scholars. For the sake of benefit for everyone, since a lot of people were not here last time, inshallah, we'll go over very quick review. The linguistic meaning, as we talked about last time, the word sunnah comes from the verb sanna or salam. This is the noun. And what it means, multiple things. And all these things actually are included in the technical meaning of the sunnah. The first one was to start something, right? We say sanna, to start something. The Prophet ﷺ in the hadith, can you pause that? So for the Prophet said that ما من رجل يقتل رجلا إلا كان على ابن آدم الأول كفل من وزره لأنه كان من أول من سنة سنة القتل. Whenever a person kills another, the first son of Adam will get a share of that sin. Why? Because he was sin, meaning started that habit. So sunnah in this concept means the one who initiates something, right? In a different meaning, linguistically, also a sunnah meaning a role model. And that's why you say a person is a sunnah, meaning he's an imam, he's a role model that could be followed. And in the poetry of the Arabs, من معشر سنت لهم آباؤهم ولكل قوم سنة وإمامها. They were taking pride that they belong to a tribe that is a role model for people. They're sunnah. So that's a role model. We also mention in the Arabic language, people say sanna qanunan, to legislate, to start a law. Right? And that is sanna. Also, we say the sinan, the spear, is straight, a line, straight line. So that sunnah also is straight. Right? And also, one of the meanings to the sunnah, which we didn't mention last time, is something meaning sunnah to clarify, to make things clear, to make things obvious, to make things very well understood to people. And there are multiple other minor meanings, but that really sums it up. So it's to start something, to be a role model, to clarify, to be straight, and also to the method. Say like sunnati, sunnatu fulan, meaning the sunnah of this person in this matter is like this and that. So it's his method, his way. All these meanings are manifested in the meaning of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ has his own way, his way of practicing religion, understanding religion. He's the role model. It's a straight path. He made things clear. He interpreted everything, made it clear. And he started us on this path, the way we worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is that clear? So that is the linguistic meaning, and now we're bridging it to the technical meaning. The technical meaning, as we mentioned when we asked last time, what is sunnah? And again, ask yourself, what does sunnah mean to you? And the common example, people think sunnah is I pray 2 rak'ahs before Fajr, I pray 2 rak'ahs after Maghrib, I fast Mondays, I fast 6 days of Shawwal, I fast this and that, I give a charity, I do Umrah, all these sunnah. But again, we mentioned this is only a small portion of the sunnah, which is the nafila. That's the extra worshipping activities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taught us through the Prophet ﷺ. But it truly sunnah, and this is the concept that people want to understand and want to absorb, inshallah. Sunnah is not limited to the nafila. Sunnah is the way of the Prophet ﷺ. What does that mean? The way he was inspired by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to understand the faith, the religion, to practice it, to teach it. That's his method, that's his way, and this is what he started for us. You see how the linguistic meanings blend in the technical meanings now. So it is the entire religion, it is the entire faith, the way the Prophet ﷺ understood it, the way he practiced it. Is that clear? If someone asks you to define the sunnah, how do you define it? In the back there.
The way that the Prophet wants us to live on.
The way the Prophet understood the faith, the way he practiced it, the way we should follow. Because it is more than just, it's not just because he wanted it, right? It is the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired him to understand the faith. And that is basically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a messenger for us. Why? To be the role model, to copy in everything. This is his understanding. Muradullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what Allah wants you to get through the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Is that clear now? I mean, I want to drill this concept in our minds. I want to make sure that it's very clear. This is the most part of the entire series. Knowing that the Sunnah is the way of the Prophet ﷺ. What does way mean? His understanding, his practice. His faith, his belief, and the practical application of that belief. So far, so good? Fine. Then we mentioned, well, where does this meaning of nafila comes? And someone defined the sunnah for us as whatever the Prophet ﷺ said, did, approved, right? We said these are different, or these are subcategories of the definitions of the sunnah. These are the branches of the sunnah based on the specialties of scholars. That's why the sunnah in fiqh means the nafila. the level below the fard. Right? So when you say Fajr, 2 rak'ahs Sunnah, that means it's the extra. That is not mandatory. That's not obligatory. Right? And then according to usul, al-usuliyin, meaning in the fundamentals of the fiqh, usul al-fiqh, it means the statements, the verbal traditions of the Prophet ﷺ, his actions and the actions he approved. Right? Because someone defined the sunnah as such. And again, in the hadith, this is the other specialty, and the seerah, it means all the verbal traditions of the Prophet ﷺ that he narrated, all his actions that were described, right? Or the descriptions of the Prophet ﷺ, because a lot of things the Prophet didn't do it himself, right? But the companions would tell you that the Prophet ﷺ, when he was traveling, then he would combine the salah. كَانَ يَجْمَعُ الصَّلَاةِ. Right? So a description of his actions, or description of his physical features, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. That is part of the hadith, part of the sunnah. When the companions describe the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam, لَمْ يَكُنْ بِالْقَصِيرِ وَلَا بِالطَّوِيلِ الْبَائِنِ وَكَانَ. This is a description of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasallam, right? That is included in the hadith. So this is what they say, صِفَاتُهُ الْخَلْقِيَّةُ وَالْخُلُقِيَّةُ. His physical features and his characteristics. The description of his character. When the Prophet ﷺ was described, كَانَ أَجْوَدَ النَّاسِ وَأَجْوَدَ مَا يَكُونُ فِي رَمَضَانِ. He was very giving, so he was described as that, right? And when he was described, وَكَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So that's a description of his character, right? The companions is still, so that's part of the hadith actually. Now when part of the hadith, obviously the seerah. And the seerah doesn't only talk about the Prophet ﷺ from the day he was a prophet, right? It talks about him even before he was born. Talk about his parents, talk about his grandparents, talk about his lineage. That is included in the hadith. And that is also encompassed by the sunnah. So the sunnah is a principle, and what we want to understand, not in its these details, right? Not, okay, it's the nafila or the statements. It's the way of the Prophet ﷺ. And now we will understand, okay, well, if that is the way of the Prophet ﷺ, how did it come to us? Right? So far is a review of what we discussed last lecture. Today, inshallah, we're going to carry on from this point. So, we discussed how is the sunnah important? What's the significance of the sunnah? We discussed one important fact, that the sunnah is part of wahy, right? And it is the statement of scholars that al-wahyu wahyan. So there are two types of revelation. The wahy al